Welcome to the Circular Momentum podcast by CO2B and Vietnam Circular Economy in Action. On this podcast, we'll be talking to business leaders on the frontiers of the circular economy transition in Vietnam. I'm Tai Vu, your host, and in today's episode, we'll be talking about the circular economy and the relationship with the events and trade exhibition industry. I'm very happy to have with us here today Mr. Tai Vu, General Manager of RxTradex Vietnam, which is the country office of Rx Global. I'm very pleased to have with us here today Marcus Klemmer, General Director of Planetzero.earth. He is the sustainability and decarbonization consultant and supporter of RxTradex Vietnam. All right, let's get started. My first one would be for you, Tai. So as the second largest trade exhibition company globally, you have set quite ambitious sustainability goals. Could you share with me more about your vision for sustainability?
You know, the whole world is going to what direction, and as a business, we see that the business is growing very fast in that sector as well. So combination of that together with the global commitment from our top leadership, we are seeing that this is a must.
What are some of the challenges that you're seeing?
On a global scale, on a global basis, when we do a survey last 2 years ago, I remember, 60% of our customers, who mostly are from developed countries like Europe and US, were saying that sustainability is one of the key factors that they consider when joining our show. That is, a very significant number compared to what we have in Southeast Asia. Our local customers are not pushing it for that. And some of them even are not being aware of this.
So Southeast Asia, how about Vietnam? Same thing?
Vietnam is even less developed because we understand that our customers, exhibitors, and even visitors are having more urgent priorities on their business rather than these climate factors.
That definitely is the case, as Vietnam is a production country and a very developing country right now still, right? So maybe Marcus, you can share and expand a little bit about some of the practices that you've seen globally in the trade and exhibition industry, as well as these challenges and solutions.
Yeah, as Tai mentioned already, there are quite a number of demands from overseas visitors, participants, as well as exhibitors to have a more serious approach to sustainability. However, the challenges here, especially in Vietnam in general, are that you have not a lot of options to choose from at the moment in terms of aspects to be more sustainable. So that's why you're facing challenges, especially for certain aspects like energy use, electricity, food, transportation, as well as said, the priorities in Europe are more in terms of sustainability, but then of course you're also competing with other organizers, events on price, because as everybody knows, we are looking at the price if I join this expo or that expo, and it's also about competition regarding price. And in general, sustainable organic materials or these kind of options are usually tend to be more expensive still. So that's why it's more challenging for organizers to do that in general.
Are there any areas in the exhibition and trade industry that you're looking to make your first actions? Marcus had mentioned like sustainability in food, maybe we're talking about public transit. Is there any that you envision and that you hope and strive for first?
Yep. As a global company, we do have our guidance from the global, and we have our playbook. The playbook listed all of the sectors that we need to look at, but we, as a local enterprise, we have the selective priority to start first with some low-hanging fruit. For example, first is the production, for example. So we start to see what are the kind of the material that can be reused, or if we can eliminate, for example, the printing. That is the low-hanging fruit that we already take into action. And starting from next year, for example, the badge. When you go into the exhibition, you have a badge. And the global direction is we already qualify one global supplier who provide the material, the badge material made out of plant solid. You know, it reduces about 70% of the carbon during the production. And that is a global quest. And we just buy from that. So that's a production. Also, things like, we encourage our visitors or exhibitors to commute to our show by a greener vehicle. This year, we buy the voucher from VinFast Green Taxi. And, whoever come to our show can enjoy, that voucher with the free ride by VinFast. Those are the, key things that we already started without waiting for all the other things to come together.
Globally, certain countries have certain infrastructures and systems already in place, and here in Vietnam, there is a certain capacity that we have and that we are still lacking, right? So public transit. So that's really interesting that you're already working with other. Can you share more about your global sustainability targets and your vision?
We signed the climate pledge where we are committing to net zero by 2040. And in order to achieve that challenging goal, we have our roadmap built up where we have stage by stage achievements to reach that goal. The roadmap is telling us right now we start with 3 factors: measure, reduce, and communicate. So starting with measure, we need to know where we are. We need to know what we are against so that we can start measuring and how much is carbon emission we are putting or how much waste are we putting per show. So there are data within our reach of calculation. For example, our own employees, what we use for our office and what we use for our show at the venue time. But there are also other factors that we need the collaboration with our vendors, with our supplier, with our partners, and even the exhibitors, so that we can start measuring and making it transparent. We set a stage for this year, next year, 2025 until 2030, and then we move on next to set the plan for reduce what we will tackle first. As I mentioned before, we tackle the low-hanging fruits within our reach. For example, the production, the use of our material or the way we construct. For example, the design, we start putting the effort into the design where it will use a mobile assembly booths instead of one-time disposable wooden products. And then next year we can do it again. And so we can basically recycle. And then the next is to communicate, to start making it transparent, sharing the data and sharing the goals together with all of our partners.
I really like how you started with measurement. And I have to say though, here in Vietnam, data is not always available. Do you have anything to share about this, Marcus, in terms of data availability here in Vietnam?
Exactly, that's basically one of the major obstacles to again have transparency, to transform basically your information into action. So you need to know when and where you need to target the actions, because you need to know the emissions. There are some obstacles, especially organizers face, is electricity consumption. Unless you have enough space for rooftop solar on the venue, in long term, you need energy for lighting, for air conditioning, and so on. So there will always be electricity consumption, and there are only the option to optimize the energy use, by example, in engaging energy consultants like Atonomics. We collaborate with a German company on that to optimize the energy use, to reduce the energy use, therefore reducing energy emissions. And on the other side, as I said before, the catering is one of the major contributors to carbon emissions, talking about letting food go to waste. So that's what we would like to avoid. And there are some organizations, they are collecting surplus food from those events, from the catering, and collecting it and then providing it to those who can make best use of it. One of the example is Viet Harvest, which is active in not only in Saigon but also in other places. So this is all helping to reduce the carbon emissions of events, of these supporting organizers. There are some options already available, but then again, you need to measure, you need to calculate, you need to be aware of and where to tackle, which aspects to tackle first.
I would like to pose you in a scenario. If I was an exhibitor and I wanted to come to you and have a really sustainable exhibition, how would you respond to me?
In order to get a green exhibition or sustainable events, we are looking at the 8 different sectors, and we started first with venue, because with our venue there is no show. Okay, so we are working with the venue to get renewable energy, and before that we can encourage them to use LED lighting versus the previous
energy efficiency, right?
Energy efficiency, or even we ask them to whether they can use a skylight, the sky window, so that they can maximize the skylight during the day. So then we work with the venue toward that one, encouraging them to convert. Okay. The second factor is the production and waste in production. We apply the principle of reject, replace, reduce, and then recycle. Okay. First, we see whether we need it or not. For example, we look at carpet. And we say, okay, let's cut all the carpets where it's possible. Then we try to replace with the greener material, and then try to reduce the use of it. Then convert and then try to use whatever it's recyclable material. The next sector we would work on is the logistics, for example. We work with the logistic company, our vendors, to make sure that they are planning so well, so that to improve the efficiency, so that they don't have to run back and forth. So it's all about efficiency in logistics, providing the good service to the exhibitor at the right time, but with much less emission during the course. And the next one is the travel and accommodation. That is the hard part, because our nature of business is face-to-face. Exhibitor and visitor want to meet face-to-face. We cannot reduce the travel yet. So that will be a longer-term goal for us to look into it and how we make it more efficient and effective.
Tai, you just mentioned about the nature of your business and that the clients want to be face-to-face. Maybe you could share more about your digitalization in terms of sustainability.
Actually, during the COVID period, we did try a lot with the virtual exhibition or hybrid exhibition. And we come back with a lot of feedback from the exhibitor as well as visitor. We still prefer the face-to-face, because the trade show is about, especially for our RxTradex Vietnam, we are exhibiting the machines, equipments, big machines, and it cannot be buying, the visitor will not buy via click or, virtual. They want to see, they want to hear, they want to touch. Okay, so hybrid is not working in that sense. However, digitalization evolution keep on, and we are introducing other tools, digital tools, to help reducing the need of back and forth commute. For example, we already introduced the lead scanning. For example, the lead scanning is where we digitalize the what people used to do before. It's exchanging the name card. Okay, they exchange the name card and they have to write it, they have to enter it. Now with just a scan, on your phone, then every lead scan will be there. And so it helps reduce the efforts from the exhibitor as well as visitor to help them connect very well. And then we do have the other digital products that help the customer, the exhibitor and the visitor to connect better, to meet, for the matchmaking from even before the show date and after the show date.
In my experience attending digitalized exhibitions and conference, I would have to say it does come with a sort of premium feeling as well, and it is one of the solutions of the future. Right? Yep. I'm very curious about the innovations and solutions available around the world, Marcus. Maybe you could help expand on that for us.
Talking about electricity, as I mentioned before, we need to have more renewable energies, especially an issue for larger venues. That will be a support. And on the other side, of course, transportation, mass transportation, hopefully, and connecting with venues, transporting larger volumes of participants, exhibitors. And there we have in overseas, we have larger exhibition halls already connected to large mass transportation and public service. So that's a bit lacking. Of course, here in Vietnam, especially in Hanoi, we already have a mass transportation system installed with several lines. In Ho Chi Minh City, we are almost there. So I would like to see more public transport in terms of mass transportation, trains, as well as bus. And their organizers can support with providing bus services and shuttle bus services. So that's all what I would like to see in the very near future.
Well, we're really excited to have Vietnam's Circular Economy in Action 2024 partnering with the Waste and Recycling Expo this year. So I would like to ask for you to share more about your motivations for having this concept, having this particular expo with this theme.
The business reason behind, we see that this would be a very fast developing industrial sector. And that could be, a good profile to be in. So combined with that, we try to introduce the Waste and Recycling Expo since last year. And we started with the form of a conflict between the conference and exhibition. The exhibition part is small and not like the pure exhibition that you used to play. Our goal was to make the awareness. We introduced the EPR, the PPP. So the goal was to make sure that we draw the attention from the manufacturing parts and also the policy maker so that they will start paying attention. Because Vietnam, Mr. Chính, our Prime Minister, already signed the commitment for net zero by 2050 at the COP26. And as a country, we need to do something. And we see that the only way we started is with the enterprises, private enterprises, to lead. And therefore, we started to go in this. Via the conference last year, we see a strong interest in this area where people start talking, looking for the solution of waste collecting, sorting, how to recycle, and how to, they also start to think about how to measure the carbon emission and how to buy the carbon credit, etc. So that's encouraged us to go to this year, and we relocate our location to Ho Chi Minh City for a larger market access for more people to come. And this year we plan to bring more technology, the advanced technology and solutions for waste and recycling to the public, so that it will help part of the country to go into right direction.
It's really great that there's already so much interest and that you're doing version 2 this year. Definitely looking forward for the role that CO2B will be playing at the Waste and Recycling Expo, where we could help unpack some of these complexities when we're rethinking the systems that we're using from the linear economy towards a circular economy.
In a global process, we the company has already starting to build the material library where we can use different material for our shows. We started to convert into the aluminum Maxima structure, which is designed in a way that we don't need to use much of the one-time wood product, disposable design. So the aluminum new design structure has offered different angle for the promotion material, for the branding material. So people just use it and then they can reassemble next year. So it's reusable and it's recycled. Think a lot of small example like that can illustrate how we go into this event industry itself.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the most important part, to rethink, do we actually need it, and what are the options we have? Can we change it, use different materials? And therefore then again, it's all about the carbon emissions, and that's what we need to reduce in general in the business. And one of the other contributors, as mentioned, for the materials, then of course, what I mentioned before, is the food waste, is one of the aspects which provides a lot of carbon emissions. And we need to make use of it again after, for example, if the food is still good, it can be collected and used. But if it's not, it should be properly treated and not just go to landfill. So proper treatment like composting or fermentation or anything else will be more sustainable in terms of reducing carbon emissions or emissions in general. Especially food waste, if it goes to the landfill, then will generate methane, which is even more potent than carbon emissions as CO2. And therefore, it's more important to work on that. There are quite a number of technology suppliers like Eco Solutions who provide machinery to treat and compost material, food waste. And therefore, it's good for the carbon footprint reduction.
Selection of those materials so important when we're talking about designing a product and really trying to extend that life cycle as much as possible. And what you shared about the food and beverage industry got me thinking about some of my experience attending some events in general in Europe and elsewhere. So there is a really interesting, just like rethinking a model, right, of like, okay, we're talking about cups that are often used at events. I mean, these single-use cups often made of, even if they're made of paper, still thrown away, right? If it's made of plastic, also terrible. But with these deposit systems, for example, a vendor at a night market or such will give you a glass of wine or a glass of beer. That cup will be deposited, and then you, as a customer, can return it and get your deposit back. So very interesting experience. I'm not sure if you've had experienced this before, rethinking this model.
Kind of reminds me of visits to the Christmas market in Germany.
There we go.
Where you basically give a deposit for the cup when you get your Glühwein, your malt wine. And then usually they have a nice pattern or a nice decoration printed on them. So you have the choice, you give it, return it and get your deposit, but also you can keep it.
Well, if I got this glass and I kept it because of this branding on it to remind me of my time and my experience at such an event. But if we want to be even more sustainable, we have to think about these models where we try to highlight the experience in another way and not attach it to products, right? That's what the issue is as consumers, right? We attach so much value and even so much of our identity in these products themselves. So that is the challenge that some of these leading companies are going to try to redesign this experience, redesign the model. I would probably like to end here and ask for both of you to share one takeaway from this conversation.
So for us, we believe that we are not alone in these campaigns. It's a global effort. We are the leading organization in this event industry, and we hope that the awareness will be there, and people will be motivated to move with us, because only that's the only way that the world can become cleaner. And especially, I hope for Vietnam, will become cleaner and more beautiful country.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's, as you mentioned, the awareness is one of the most important aspects of that. And in order to raise awareness, I think we need to collaborate, we need to connect, we need to network, we need to meet face to face at an expo to find solutions, how to solve the issues in the next couple of years. To get where we need to be in terms of sustainability and circular economy. And therefore, yeah, I just hope we have more connections, more involvement, and more sharing among the industry and engaging with people in need who want to know more and happy to share. Yeah.
Well, the good news is that we have the Waste and Recycling Expo 2024 on October 2nd to October 4th. So it's just coming up in a few months. And VCEA, which is Vietnam's Circular Economy in Action 2024, will be on the very first day, where we'll be talking to other business leaders across different sectors, bringing them all together to discuss collaboration, discuss best practices and case studies, and the solutions that are needed to bring us towards a more circular future. Thank you all for joining us today. Now I would like to take the opportunity to thank the sponsors of the Circular Momentum podcast. Without you, this podcast would not have been possible. Thank you to RxTradex Vietnam, to Preco Studios, as well as to Amanaki Hotels and Solve Branding. Thank you.